Listo. Losing a finger, foot, or leg is one of the greatest fears among people with diabetes, a disease that, according to INEGI statistics, affects more than 10% of the population in Mexico. Good evening. We are Team 1, and this is our proposal for the prosthetic import challenge. These are the topics we are going to address in our presentation, beginning with a general overview of the company and finishing with the logistics for the product to its arrival to Mexico. We'd like to start by introducing some information about our training partner. Tecnologias for the Community is an organization dedicated to the design, manufacture, and distribution of low-cost assistive technology solutions and rehabilitation services to vulnerable communities. It is estimated that 80% of toe, foot, or leg amputations in Mexico are caused by type 2 diabetes. According to data from 2015 of the National Academy of Medicine, there are 75,000 people with amputations and only 10% have prostheses, of which only 7% know how to use it. This represents a serious problem for public health and quality of life in Mexico. The association has 3 programs: One Step Forward, First Steps, and Taxi. These provide a comprehensive service to help the patient to achieve autonomy with medical, psychological, and transportation assistance. The product the association offers and is also looking for are transtibial prostheses, which are for patients with amputation below the knee, and transfemoral prostheses for amputations above the knee.
Moving on to the challenge, we aim to generate a handbook for importing prostheses for the organization, as well as finding suppliers that are also strategic partners. It is important to gather all the information about the requirements and restrictions to complete the import as smoothly as possible. Based on the information provided by the association, we based on a budget for the transtibial prostheses below 15,000 Mexican pesos and for the transfemoral prostheses below 35,000 Mexican pesos. Let's focus now on the tariff classification. This is a tariff code or harmonized system code we used for the prostheses we will be importing. It is important to mention that this code is recognized internationally. It explains a wide range of products, and it is the one we chose to focus on since it fits the product characteristics the best. As we can see, according to SIABI, Sistema de Información Arancelaria vía Internet, we are exempt from paying taxes and an import duty. However, we still have to pay the VAT. The only restriction we have would be the authorization from COFEPRIS for the different parts of the prosthetics.
Now, for the non-tariff restrictions, it is important to consider that to import these products, they must comply with the COFEPRIS sanitary permit to import medical devices that have a sanitary restrictions. The requirements needs are those ones shown in the slide. Besides, it is important to consider the recent changes in the new miscelánea fiscal. These are the basic import requirements we need to know before trying to bring any product into Mexico. The slide is pretty self-explanatory. However, there are some things in which we need to look up into, such as the price of hiring a customs agent and complying with regulations and restrictions. Now, which is the supplier we selected? These are the main characteristics we look for in our suppliers. It is important to mention that they were key for picking not only the best supplier, but the best strategic partner for Tecnologias para la Comunidad. Some relevant information in our decision were the imports of this HS code from January to June of this year. We were looking for one country in these different regions. For each country, we researched for the value of the imports in USD, as well as its equivalent in kilograms.
When doing our research, we compared the 3 potential suppliers of the countries already mentioned. The suppliers were Autoboc, Fashion Rehabs, and Shijiazhuang, also International Trade Co. Here we have the chart that helped us during the final selection process. The criteria we used is on the left corner. I will proceed to explain each of them. For the quality versus price, we considered whether the product quality looked fine or not, and if the product fitted into the budget. For location, we considered the treaties we have with the origin country. Export and logistics is pretty self-explanatory, as well as production, MOQ, and lead time. For the buying process, we considered the forms of payment and whether we were provided with the characteristics before purchasing the product or not. And finally, for reliability, we considered pictures of the premises, mainly the factory. It is clear with all this said that the best option as a strategic partner for Tecnologias para la Comunidad is our Chinese supplier, Shijiazhuang, also International Trade Co., since it complies with most of the characteristics we needed in a supplier. Nevertheless, we are still working on getting the total cost of ownership. As you can see, Autobock also complies with most of the characteristics. However, it is still missing the most relevant one, fitting into the budget. Now, based on the previous chart, we will focus on the Chinese supplier, as we said. A little background information on our relationship with the country. China is Mexico's second trade partner globally since 2003, and ever since then, commerce between us has grown. Here we have the product and its qualities. As we can see, it is a transformable prosthesis made out of stainless steel. On the right corner, we have the price, and we can see that for the quality of the product, the price looks quite reasonable and fits into the budget. It is important to consider that the price may vary depending on the exchange rate because the transaction will be made in US dollars. However, even with this slight variation, the product is not likely to exceed these numbers significantly.
These are the pros and cons of these suppliers. Amongst the multiple pros, the most relevant ones to look at are that this supplier is manufacturer and exporter. Also, it manages a refund policy if the quality of the product is not the one as promised. The biggest pro is its reliability that we can notice based on the information provided to us about the premises and the functionality of the product, as well as certifications, which we will get further into. As for the cons, clearly the distance in terms of cost can represent an issue. However, we can mitigate this with Incoterms, and actually the supplier offers multiple options for this. Also, we have the language barrier. However, it is easy to mitigate this risk, carrying out the transaction in English. Even their webpage offers multiple languages.
The company provides a copy of their certifications. For example, here we have the ISO 9001, which is the international standard for quality management systems, endorsed by the Global Certifying Organization, NQA, and the IIF. In the next slide, we can see more certification, such as the company certification of registration, and we even have their export license number.
The supplier is also a verified supplier in the Alibaba platform, which is a Chinese multinational technology company with sales services via web portals, which only certifies reliable companies. The webpage offers pictures of packages and their domestic transportation, as you can see in the slide. We also have the measurements of each box and its gross weight, this meaning that the weight of the box and the product are being considered. It also offers pictures of the facilities, their workers, materials, etc. This was key for our supplier selection process, since we need pictures as proof of their premises quality.
As for logistics, here are the criteria we consider for a logistics quotation. This information is key for getting a proper quotation because depending on the quantity of the product, as well as the measurements, value, and mean of transport, this quote can get cheaper or more expensive. Talking about Incoterms, Incoterms are international rules made for transactions so that buyers and sellers can know their obligations. There are 11 of them. In this case, we will be using one, DAP, delivery at place, meaning that the seller bears all the costs and risks until the arrival at the destination with the goods prepared for unloading. Now, in the next slide, we can see the route the cargo would take, leaving from Shijiazhuang in China and arriving to Guadalajara. We have two quotations. The first one was provided to us by the supplier, and the second one was one with Kuehne+Nagel, a 3PL company. The transit time would be around 10 to 14 days. We have the prices in US dollars and in Mexican pesos, and we can clearly see that based on price and experience with the supplier, the best option would be the first one, DHL.
Okay, so after all this information, we can conclude that our selected supplier is Chinese. The most convenient Incoterm for this process is DAP. However, we can adjust it depending on everyone's need. Nevertheless, we recommend to hire a three-party logistics company to take care of all logistic processes, such as DHL, which is a strategic partner of the supplier chose. This makes the relationship between supplier, 3PL, and Tecnologias para la comunidad much easier. Also, we recommend to have a customs broker, a person who is officially in charge of carrying out all the import processes, as well as the documentation in the customs. We're really looking forward to keep working with Tecnologias para la comunidad. Thank you very much for your attention. For any further questions, please contact any member of our team.